What if the way that you approach life has a real effect on how you experience life? What if the way you approach life has a real effect on how you experience life? Henry David Thoreau once wrote, "The question is not what you look at, but what you see." To look at something is to keep distance. We look at animals in the zoo. We look at a car accident on the side of the road. We look at photos of our friends and family living their best lives on Instagram. To see something, however, requires closeness, proximity, connection. It demands slowing down and being present. We see our child as they squeal in delight at placing the last puzzle piece down. We see our beloved while we're making love. We see the stories we tell ourselves as we meditate or vulnerably share with a friend. Moving from looking at someone or something to seeing is a move from far to near, from closed up to open, from apart to connected. We can go through our entire day looking at everything and seeing nothing. Though awake, we sleep. What if the way that you approach life has a real effect on how you experience life? I've made some observations about my life during these past couple pandemic months as it relates to venturing out into the world to forage for food and search for paper towels. I've noticed that some days as I head out to the grocery store, after having read some, rather depressing stories about the state of affairs in our world, it causes my opinion of humanity and of American society to plummet. I've noticed that when I lament at how selfish and self-centered and ignorant and arrogant people are. I notice that then when I get to the store and I see some people not wearing their masks properly or not caring about social distancing, I see people being rude and callous to one another. I see real life examples of what I'd just been reflecting on. And then other days, before I head out to the store to forage for food or search for paper towels, maybe I had a particularly uplifting interaction with someone through an email or online, because it does happen. Or maybe I read a news story about how people are coming together right now, and change is happening in our world, and movements are growing. And I feel encouraged by how selfless and thoughtful and kind and caring people are. And then I get to the store, same exact store, in the same exact neighborhood, and I see people wearing masks. I see people being considerate of shopping carts. I see people smiling with their eyes. I see patience, and I see oops, sorries, and I see this sense that we're all in this thing together and we've got each other's back. In other words, I see real life examples of what I'd just been reflecting on. The Sufi mystic Rumi wrote, "What you seek is seeking you." Perhaps the people at the store weren't all that different on those two separate days. Perhaps the world I see is but a reflection of the world I'm looking for. What if the way you approach life has a real effect on how you experience life? Now, the NFL season has started this week, and whether or not you like football, I used to love football and I used to love the NFL, and a couple years ago I had to, for moral conscience reasons, divorce myself from it, and I'm fine. It was a decision I'm glad I made. But the point is, whether or not you like football, what I'm about to say I still think is gospel truth. I still think that the TV show Friday Night Lights is one of the top 15 best shows ever made. Whether or not you like football. Yeah, wow, top 15. I haven't seen, I don't know if it holds up. Kate and I were talking about this the other day, that we're kind of afraid to rewatch it because maybe it doesn't hold up. But as it stands now in my rankings, it's somewhere in the top 15. Throughout its 5 seasons of being on air, Coach Taylor has a saying, sort of catchphrase, if you will, that he uses throughout the entire show to inspire his team. And many of you, if you've seen this, you know what I'm about to say. It is, clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Clear eyes, full hearts can't lose. And though Coach spoke it to football players, and the initial assumption might be that the not losing here refers to the winning of football games, I believe there's a deeper truth in these words. It's not just about winning a game. There's a deeper reality that Coach was inviting his players to receive. I think to speak of eyes being clear is to name that we see things as they truly are. Not as we idealize them to be, not as some outside source tells us they are, not as our past experiences might try and convince us that they should be. When our eyes are clear, we can see past the spin, through the lies, and into the truth of the matter. And then in order for a heart to be full, first it must be opened. Because a closed heart is an empty heart. Furthermore, there is but only one thing, as I understand it and as I see it, there's only one thing that can fill a heart, and that's love. So to speak of a full heart is to call forth a heart that is open to the flow of love, however and from wherever it might come. So then to say clear eyes, full hearts can't lose is perhaps a way of saying that being awake to what is and having open hearts filled with love is to possess a particular posture toward life which will assure you that come what may, you cannot lose. Come heartache or heartbreak, come suffering or sorrow, come loss or lack. To show up to life with eyes that see and a heart that loves is to ensure that we never leave empty-handed. Though the score might say otherwise, perhaps we might win hard-fought wisdom or grow in our capacity for enduring, or we become more patient, more kind, more compassionate. But lose? No, not lose. Not lose. We can't lose with clear eyes and full hearts. What if the way you approach life has a real effect on how you experience life? When he was speaking to tired and poor people who were hungry not just for actual food and drink, but for spiritual liberation, Jesus once said the following words: "Happy are people who are hopeless, because the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Happy are people who grieve, because they will be made glad. Happy are people who are humble, because they will inherit the earth. Happy are people who are hungry and who thirst for justice, because they will be fed until they are full. Happy are people who show mercy, because they will receive mercy. Happy are people who have pure hearts, because they will see source, love, God. Happy are people who make peace, because they will be called God's children." There seems to be a connection between how we show up to life with how life then shows up for us. Maybe it's by our grieving that we can receive gladness. Maybe it is through our humble posture of openness to what is that we can be filled with life's gifts. Maybe it is when we've reached the end of our hope, when we find that our belonging in the family of God was never dependent on having it all together in the first place. Maybe these sayings from Jesus weren't about some sort of transactional guarantee that you are entitled to from life, if only you do and believe the right sorts of things. Rather, maybe the truth is that how we show up to life and what we look for, what we see, very much impacts what we find on the other side. So may we consider, dear friends, that life, or one might even say that God, is calling to us right now, inviting us to show up with eyes to see and hearts that are open wide. For it is those who show mercy that also receive it. And it is those who make peace that also experience the peace of being a loved child of God. Because after all, maybe it is true that how we approach life has a real effect on how we experience it.